Today we have William Barker. Mr. Barker has been a teacher here, an administrator, a supervisor, and I don't want to say too much because he has so many interesting stories. I wanted to come from him. But he grew up in St. Tammany Parish. He grew up out in the Lee Road area. So welcome, Bill. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Marion.
So, well, would you like to start by telling us a little bit about what your childhood was like? What was it like out in Lee Road when you were growing up?
Well, really, I was born out in the Folsom area, but lived there only 3 years, and then we came to our property over in Barker's Corner. It wasn't Barker's Corner then, but so I grew up there in the Barker settlement, you might call it. But started school at Pilgrim's Rest when I was 6, and that was right in the middle of the Depression. We were having some rather hard times, and people found it hard to make ends meet, you might say. But I like to tell about that, my experiences at Pilgrim Rest. I started there in 1936, and we were in the first grade. Had some wonderful teachers. I remember Miss Carrie Fitzgerald was a teacher that made me really like school to begin with. And I liked that, and I had several teachers. We had some interesting things at Pilgrim Rest. It was a 5-room country school with 7 grades. So there were 2 combination classes. I was in only 1 combination class, but all the others were single classroom classrooms. We had some interesting things there. I learned to read and loved to read there. By the time I was in the 2nd grade, I was reading everything I could get my hands on. I loved that. The plumbing system at Pilgrim's Rest was rather interesting. We had the outhouses, of course, on each end of the schoolyard. And then we had the plumbing system. The pump was always interesting. The maintenance department, whatever that was, there were 2 or 3 men then, I guess, had arranged the pump with a pipe on it with so that it would make bubblers for about 4 people. So you would have to pump the water and would hope that the one who was drinking would take his turn pumping so you could drink. Often, though, they were drinkers and runners. Not drinkers and drivers, but they drink and run and left you with the pump. So you'd pump like crazy and run around to the bubbler before it quit flowing and try to get your drink of water. That was always interesting. And then after that, we went through the 5th grade no, 4th through the 4th grade at Pilgrim's Rest.
About how many kids were in a class then, do you remember?
It was rather small. We only had about 100 people at Pilgrim's Rest, so I can't recall the size of the class, but they were rather small, 20, maybe 25 at times. But had some wonderful teachers there. And
what about a lunch program or a breakfast program or recess?
Lunch program. I hadn't thought about that. Yes, we usually we had our lunch program was sack lunches, or anyway we'd have sandwiches with biscuits with what we all call smokehouse meat. This was the good pork that was cured in the smokehouses, and my mother would carve off some of that pork and make sandwiches with biscuits. We not too big on sliced bread. You have to recall, this was during the Depression. One of the things that would happen was at the noontime, when the bell would ring, Mr. Joe Howes, the principal, would ring the bell for the lunchtime, and the kids would flow out of the classrooms, and the pigs would flow out of the woods.